really, I think over the last year, this has become such so much more important. Well, I mean, it was always important, but it's become, at least everybody's now on board, I think. And so, really looking at economic metrics, they're this kind of standard thing, gross value added. That's what everybody measures. But I think what's really interesting is then when you move to things like social and community or spatial opportunities, or of course the environmental aspects, in terms of measuring the social opportunity of a place. This is an example. The picture in the centre there was an example of an incredible project that we worked on in Melbourne that looked at the number of art galleries and museums and the access that the population had to those spaces. And so you can start to see in the kind of circle down here that this yellow spot that wasn't there before. So suddenly now there's, I think it was a measure of something like 20,000 20,000 people now. More people now had access to that art gallery and museum that didn't have access to that kind of culture before. And so this is really where you start to see the kind of deep effects of the decisions that you make in real estate, in a spatial and a quantitative sense, and what that means to the community in this particular location. Museums and art was is really highly valued, so that was very important to the city. And spatial opportunities, as I was saying before, the link between so for example, you can see in this graph here, the red streets are what's called high movement potential. So they're likely to be main streets. They're likely to have a lot of traffic going down them, and so what's that has been linked, has been correlated with economic activity and with shops and footfall and success of businesses. And so really, measuring those spatial opportunities and making sure that, even if it's a small development and you're putting an access throughway through your space, that can make a massive difference, not only to your activation, but to the activation of the streets around you. And so those kinds of decisions, can have a real impact on the space. And you can measure those things, and you can measure the kind of, the increase in that movement potential and the increase in the likelihood of footfall through those spaces. And then, of course, environmental metrics, really, kind of the kind of traditional space of the engineer, and there are some incredible ways in which you can measure things like urban heat island effect and air quality and surface water runoff, and those things are really incredibly important for the health of our cities and the health of our environment.